The night was quiet in the forests of the Pacific Northwest. Too quiet. Jin-Ho Park stood on the wooden observation deck of his ranger station, listening to the unusual silence. After 5 years as a forest ranger, he knew when something was wrong. No owl calls, he whispered to himself. No wolves. Not even insects. Jin-Ho lifted his night vision binoculars and scanned the tree line. The forest glowed green in his vision, but nothing moved. He had served 8 years in the military before becoming a ranger. That experience had taught him to trust his instincts. Right now, those instincts were screaming. He went back inside the small ranger station and checked his rifle. Just a standard issue, weapon for dealing with dangerous wildlife. Jin-Ho had never needed to use it, but tonight felt different. The radio crackled. Central to Outpost 8. Jin-Ho, you there? He picked up the radio. This is Outpost 8. What's wrong, Day? Got a call from some hikers about strange lights near Eagle Peak. Probably just teenagers with flashlights, but can you check it out tomorrow morning? Jin-Ho frowned. Eagle Peak was where he had found those strange tracks yesterday. Not bear or mountain lion, something he couldn't identify. I'll head there at first light, he said. After a restless night, Jin-Ho drove his jeep as far as the trail would allow, then hiked the remaining distance to Eagle Peak. The morning sun filtered through the tall pines, but the forest remained unusually silent. Near the summit, Jin-Ho spotted something reflecting sunlight. He approached carefully and found a small metal object half buried in the soil. It was triangular, about the size of a coin, made of a material he had never seen before. It felt warm to the touch and had strange symbols etched on its surface. Jin-Ho pocketed the object and continued his search. At the top of Eagle Peak, he found what had disturbed him most, a perfect circle of burned grass about 30 feet across. The ground was scorched, but nothing around it was damaged. It wasn't a campfire or lightning strike. Jin-Ho had no explanation for what could cause such a pattern. As he knelt to examine the burn marks, he noticed footprints leading away from the circle. They were unlike any animal track he had seen, 3-toed with a strange drag mark behind each step. What the hell made these, he muttered. Jin-Ho followed the tracks until they disappeared at a rocky outcrop. He took photos with his phone and marked the location on his GPS. Something was very wrong in his forest, and he needed help, figuring out what. In the small town of Pine Ridge, Dr. Hana Kim was finishing her shift at the local clinic. She had moved here just 6 months ago, wanting a quiet place to practice medicine after the chaos of her residency in Seattle. Pine Ridge, with its population of barely 2,000, had seemed perfect. As she was preparing to leave, the emergency doors burst open. 2 men carried in a third, his shirt soaked in blood. What happened? Hana asked, quickly guiding them to the treatment room. Found him on the hiking trail, one man said, breathing hard. Looks like an animal attack, but I've never seen wounds like that. Hana examined the unconscious man. 3 perfect parallel cuts ran across his chest, so clean they looked almost surgical. No animal she knew could make wounds like these. Start an IV, she instructed the nurse, and call the hospital in Westwood. We need to transfer him. As they stabilized the patient, the door opened again. A man in a forest ranger uniform entered, his face serious. Dr. Kim, I'm Jin-Ho Park from the Ranger Service. I heard about the injured hiker. Can I see him? Hana looked up. We're preparing him for transfer. Why are you interested? Jin-Ho approached the bed and looked at the wounds. His expression darkened. This is the 3rd incident this month, he said quietly. But the first human victim. 3rd incident? Hana asked. 2 weeks ago, I found a deer carcass with similar cuts. Last week, a bear. Both had parts removed with surgical precision. I thought it might be poachers using some new technique, but now... Jin-Ho pulled out his phone and showed her pictures of the animal remains. The wounds matched those on her patient exactly. I found something else today, he said, pulling the metal triangle from his pocket. Hana examined it. I've never seen material like this. It's not steel or aluminum. I found it near a perfect circle of burned grass at Eagle Peak, along with tracks I can't identify. Their conversation was interrupted as the transfer team arrived to take the patient. Hana helped load him into the ambulance, then turned back to Jin-Ho. Something strange is happening here, isn't it? Jin-Ho nodded. I think so. The forest has changed. The animals are scared. They're hiding. From what? That's what I need to find out. That night, 3 more hikers went missing from the trails near Eagle Peak. The local sheriff organized search parties, but Jin-Ho knew they were looking in the wrong places. He returned to the scorched circle alone, carrying only his rifle and a night vision scope. He waited in the shadows of the trees, watching. Hours passed with no movement. Then, just after midnight, he heard it, a low humming sound that made his teeth vibrate. A light appeared above the trees, moving slowly. Not a helicopter or plane. It made no noise except for that strange hum. Jin-Ho raised his night vision scope. The light came from something hovering about 50 feet above the ground. It was shaped like a disc with strange markings along its edge. As Jin-Ho watched, a beam of light shot down from the center of the disc to the scorched circle. A figure descended through the beam, tall at least 7 feet, with a body that seemed covered in plates or armor. Its head was elongated with what looked like mandibles where a mouth should be. Jin-Ho's breath caught in his throat. He had seen many things in his military service, and as a ranger, but nothing like this. This was not from Earth. The creature carried something over its shoulder. As it reached the ground, it dropped its burden, a human body. Jin-Ho recognized the bright red jacket of one of the missing hikers. The creature made a series of clicking sounds. 2 more figures descended through the light beam. They were similar but smaller, with different colored armor. They gathered around the body, examining it with tools that glowed in the darkness. Jin-Ho's finger hovered over the trigger of his rifle. But what good would bullets do against creatures that came from the stars? Instead, he recorded everything with his phone. The creatures spent nearly an hour examining the body. They took samples of blood and tissue, storing them in containers that vanished into compartments in their armor. Then they lifted the body and ascended back into the hovering craft. The light beam disappeared. The humming stopped. The craft rose, silently into the night sky and vanished. Jin-Ho sat frozen in his hiding place long after they were gone. What he had just witnessed changed everything. Earth was being visited, but not for peaceful contact. These creatures were hunters, and humans were their prey. Jin-Ho knew he needed help. Tomorrow he would show Dr. Kim what he had recorded. Together they might find a way to stop what was coming. Because Jin-Ho was certain of one thing: the hunt had only just begun. Jin-Ho's hands shook as he placed his phone on the table at the clinic's break room. Dr. Hana Kim stared at the video playing on the screen, her face pale in the morning light. "This can't be real," she whispered. "This has to be fake." "It's real," Jin-Ho said. "I saw them with my own eyes." The video showed the 3 alien creatures examining the hiker's body. The footage was dark and shaky, but clear enough to see they were not from Earth. "What do they want?" Hana asked. "They're hunters," Jin-Ho said. "They took samples like scientists studying animals, or like hunters checking the quality of their prey." Hana shook her head. "We need to tell someone, the police, the military, someone who can do something." "The sheriff already thinks I'm crazy," Jin-Ho said. "He believes the missing hikers just got lost. And who else would believe this without proof? This video is proof." "Is it? Or will people just say it's a hoax? We need more evidence." They were interrupted by a nurse rushing into the break room. "Dr. Kim, another patient just came in with strange cuts. Same as yesterday." Hana jumped up. "I'll be right there." She turned to Jin-Ho. "Meet me after my shift. We need a plan." That evening they met at Jin-Ho's ranger station. Hana brought medical files of the injured hikers and Jin-Ho spread maps across the table. "The attacks are happening in this area," Jin-Ho said, circling a region near Eagle Peak. That's where I saw their ship land. So, what do we do? Set up cameras, try to catch them? Jin-Ho hesitated. I think we need to watch them, learn their patterns. If we make a wrong move, people could die. People are already getting hurt, Hana argued, and some are missing. I know. That's why I called someone who might help us. As if on cue, there was a knock at the door. Jin-Ho opened it to reveal a man in plain clothes, with short black hair and alert eyes. Jin-Ho, he said with a nod. It's been a while. Thanks for coming, Taiwan, Jin-Ho replied, ushering him in. This is Dr. Hana Kim. Hana, this is Taewon Lee. We served together in the military. Taewon bowed slightly to Hana. Jin-Ho says you have evidence of something unusual in these woods. Jin-Ho played the video for Taewon, who watched without expression. When it ended, he simply nodded. You believe us? Hana asked, surprised. Let's just say this isn't the first time I've seen something like this, Taewon said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an ID card. I work for a government division that investigates unusual phenomena. Most of what we find has natural explanations. But sometimes, so the government knows about alien? Hana asked. We've had encounters, Taewon admitted. Mostly just sightings, a few recovered materials. Nothing concrete enough to go public with. He looked at Jin-Ho's video again. Until now. Will you bring in the military? Jin-Ho asked. Taewon shook his head. Not yet. Right now, it's just me. If we make a big move, these creatures might either leave or become more aggressive. We need to learn more first. What about the missing hikers? Hana demanded. If they're still alive, our best chance to save them is to find where these hunters are keeping them, Taewon said. That's what we'll focus on tonight. As darkness fell, the three of them hiked through the forest toward Eagle Peak. Each carried a backpack with supplies. Taewon brought special equipment, heat sensors, motion detectors, and a strange device he said could detect unusual energy signals. These hunters, they follow patterns, Taewon explained as they walked. They establish a territory, study their prey, then start taking specimens. From what I know of similar encounters, they don't just kill randomly. They're looking for worthy trophies. Trophies? Hana asked, disturbed. Like big game hunters on Earth who want the most impressive animal to mount on their wall, Jin-Ho said. They want a challenge. They reached a ridge overlooking the area where Jin-Ho had seen the ship. Taewon set up his equipment while Jin-Ho scanned the forest with night vision binoculars. There, Jin-Ho whispered suddenly, pointing to movement. In the trees below. Through the binoculars, they saw one of the alien creatures moving silently through the forest. It was even more terrifying up close. Its body was covered in armor that seemed to shift colors to match the background. On its shoulder sat a weapon unlike anything they had seen before. It's hunting, Taewon said. Watch how it moves. The alien moved with precise, calculated steps. It stopped occasionally to examine tracks or broken branches. It was tracking something or someone. We have to stop it, Hana whispered. How? Jin-Ho asked. We don't know what weapons would even hurt it. We follow it, Taewon decided. It might lead us to the others. They tracked the alien hunter for nearly 2 hours as it moved through the forest. Finally, it stopped near a stream where a man was filling a water bottle. A lone hiker, separated from his group. We have to warn him, Hana said, starting to rise. Jin-Ho pulled her back down. If we show ourselves now, we all die. The alien raised its weapon. A red dot appeared on the hiker's back. But before it could fire, a branch snapped under Hana's foot. The alien spun around, scanning the area where they hid. The three of them froze, barely breathing. After what seemed like forever, the alien turned back. But the hiker was gone, alerted by the sound. The alien made an angry clicking noise. It activated something on its wrist, and suddenly it seemed to fade from view, its outline blurring until it was nearly invisible. Camouflage technology, Taewon whispered. Stay absolutely still. They remained frozen as the alien moved past their hiding spot, so close that Jin-Ho could smell a strange, musky odor. Finally, it moved away, still tracking the escaped hiker. We need to follow it, Taewon said. It might lead us to their base. They trailed the alien at a safe distance, using Taewon's equipment to track its heat signature. The alien moved with purpose now, no longer hunting but returning somewhere. At the base of a cliff, the alien stopped. It pressed something on its wrist, and a section of rock slid aside, revealing a hidden entrance. The alien entered, and the rock closed behind it. Their base is inside the mountain, Jinho said. Taewon used his scanner on the rock face. There's a large cavity inside, and multiple heat signatures. He looked grim. At least a dozen alien and... He hesitated. Several. Human signatures too, some very faint. The missing hikers, Hana said. They're keeping them alive. But for how long? Jinho asked. We need a plan, Taewon said. These hunters are technologically advanced, but they have weaknesses. They seem to hunt alone, which means they're confident or arrogant. They follow patterns, which makes them predictable, and they want challenge, not slaughter. How does that help us? Hana asked. It means we can use their own nature against them, Taewon said. But first we need to know more about what we're facing. Taewon pulled out a small device and attached it to the rock face near where the entrance had appeared. This will record any energy fluctuations when they open the door again. Tomorrow we'll come back with better equipment. We'll find a way inside. As they hiked back through the dark forest, Jinho felt a chill that had nothing to do with the night air. The hunt had just begun, but now the hunters were becoming the hunted. Morning sunlight broke through the trees as Jinho, Hana, and Taewon hiked deeper into the forest. They had spent the night at the ranger station planning their next move. Now they were heading to a place Jinho had mentioned. How much farther to this settlement? Taewon asked, checking his equipment. About 2 miles, Jinho replied. It's hidden in a valley beyond the next ridge. Most people don't even know it exists. And you think these people might be in danger? Hana asked. Jinho nodded. The settlement is off-grid. No phones, minimal contact with the outside world. If the aliens find them, they would be easy targets. The settlement Jinho spoke of was a small community of about 30 people who had chosen to live away from modern society. They grew their own food, used solar power for electricity, and only came to town a few times a year for supplies they couldn't make themselves. Jinho had discovered them during his first year as a forest ranger. Instead of reporting them for living on protected land, he had formed a quiet friendship with them, checking on them during his patrols. As they reached the top of the ridge, Jinho raised his hand, signaling them to stop. The small valley below held a cluster of wooden cabins surrounded by garden plots and a small orchard. Smoke rose from several chimneys. Looks peaceful, Hana said. Let's hope it stays that way, Taewon replied. If those hunters find this place, they descended into the valley. As they approached the settlement, a man with a long beard stepped out of the nearest cabin, holding an old rifle. That's far enough, he called. State your business. It's me, Dal, Jinho called back. Jinho Park, the ranger. The man lowered his rifle. Jinho, it's been a while. Who are your friends? This is Dr. Hana Kim and Taewon Lee. We need to speak with everyone. It's important. Dal looked skeptical but nodded. Come on in. We're preparing the morning meal. The settlers gathered in the center of their community where wooden tables were set up under tall trees. About 30 people of different ages sat together sharing a simple breakfast. They looked at the visitors with curious eyes. A young woman approached them carrying a baby wrapped in a colorful blanket. The infant couldn't have been more than 6 months old. Jinho, she said with a smile. It's good to see you again. Mi-sun, Jinho replied. Is this your son? Mi-sun nodded proudly. This is June. He was born last winter. She turned to Hana. Are you a doctor? From the town? Yes, Hana answered. The clinic in Pine Ridge. Would you mind looking at him? He's been fussy lately. Nothing serious, but we don't have a doctor here. Of course, Hana said, smiling at the baby. While Hana examined the baby, Jinho and Taewon spoke to the community leaders. They explained the strange events in the forest, the missing hikers, and what they had seen. Jin-ho showed them the video on his phone. The settlers listened with serious faces. Some looked frightened, others doubtful. "You're saying aliens are hunting humans in our forest?" Dal asked. "That's exactly what I'm saying," Jin-ho replied. "And you're all in danger here. You're isolated. Easy targets. What do you expect us to do? Abandon our homes?" another settler asked. "Just for a little while," Jin-ho said, "until we figure out how to deal with this threat." The settlers argued among themselves. Some wanted to leave, others refused to abandon the life they had built. In the end, they agreed to send the children and elderly to town with Hana, while the others would stay to protect their homes. As they discussed plans, Taewan's detector began to beep. He pulled it from his pocket, his face growing pale. "What is it?" Jin-ho asked. "Energy signature," Taewan said quietly. "Similar to what we saw at the cave entrance. Something's coming." Jin-ho stood quickly. "Everyone inside. Now." The settlers moved quickly, gathering their children and heading for the cabins. Mi-sun clutched baby June to her chest as she hurried toward the central cabin. "Not there," Jin-ho said, grabbing her arm. "The root cellar. It's underground. Safer." He led Mi-sun to a small door set into the ground behind one of the cabins. Inside was a cool, dark space where the settlers stored vegetables and preserved food. "Stay here," Jin-ho told her. "Keep him quiet. Don't come out until one of us comes for you." Mi-sun nodded, her eyes wide with fear. "Please be careful." Jin-ho rejoined Taewan and Hana. They positioned themselves where they could see the edge of the forest. "There," Taewan whispered, pointing. At first, Jin-ho saw nothing. Then the air seemed to ripple, and 3 of the alien hunters appeared, their camouflage technology deactivating. They were even more terrifying in daylight. Tall, muscular beings with mandibles and strange glowing eyes. Each carried weapons and wore armor that reflected the sunlight. "They're scouting," Taewan said. "Probably picked up the settlements. Heat signatures." "What do we do?" Hana asked. Before anyone could answer, one of the settlers panicked. He ran from his hiding place toward his cabin, perhaps trying to reach a weapon. The movement caught the alien's attention immediately. One of the hunters raised its weapon. A blue light shot out, hitting the running man. He fell to the ground, still alive but unable to move. "Paralyzing weapon," Taewan observed. "They want live captures." The aliens moved into the settlement with frightening speed. 2 more settlers who tried to fight were quickly taken down with the same paralyzing weapons. The aliens began methodically. "Searching the cabins, we need to draw them away," Jin-ho said. "Give the others a chance to escape." "How?" Hana asked. Taewan reached into his pack and pulled out a small device. "Distraction," he said. He pressed a button and threw it into the woods on the far side of the settlement. The device exploded in a flash of light and noise. The aliens immediately turned toward it, 2 of them moving to investigate. The third continued searching the cabins. "I'll lead the 2 away," Taewan said. "You 2 help the settlers." Before they could argue, Taewan was moving through the trees. Jin-ho and Hana split up, each helping settlers escape into the forest while the aliens were distracted. Jin-ho had just helped an elderly couple into the trees when he heard a scream. He turned to see the 3rd alien emerging from a cabin, holding Mi-sun by her arm. She fought desperately, but the alien was too strong. Jin-ho raised his rifle but couldn't get a clear shot without risking Mi-sun. He watched helplessly as the alien activated a device on its wrist. A moment later, 2 more hunters appeared at the edge of the settlement. Between them, they carried several unconscious settlers. One of the aliens made a series of clicking sounds, and they began to retreat, taking their captives with them. Jin-ho wanted to follow, but he knew he needed to check on the others first, especially baby June. He ran to the root cellar and pulled open the door. In the dim light, he saw a small bundle wrapped in a blanket. June was there, miraculously quiet, as if the baby somehow knew to stay silent. Jin-ho picked up the infant, cradling him gently. "I'll find your mother," he promised. "I'll bring her back." When Hana and Taewan returned, Jin-ho showed them the baby. Hana immediately checked him over. "He's fine," she said. "But what do we do with him? We can't take a baby to fight aliens. And we can't leave him here alone," Jinho said. Taiwan looked grim. "We don't have a choice. The baby comes with us. We'll find the aliens' base, rescue the captives, and end this hunt." Jinho looked down at the tiny face of baby June and felt a fierce determination. The hunt had become personal now. It wasn't just about saving strangers anymore. Now it was about saving this child's mother and making sure he grew up in a world where humans weren't hunted for sport. Night had fallen by the time Jinho, Hana, and Taiwan reached the hidden entrance to the alien base. Baby June was strapped to Hana's chest in a makeshift carrier, sleeping peacefully despite the danger around him. "The sensor I placed yesterday recorded 3 openings and closings," Taiwan said, examining his equipment. "They seem to return to base after each hunt." Jinho studied the rock face. "How do we get inside?" Taiwan pulled out a small device from his pack. "This should help us detect the energy signature when they open the door. Then we might be able to find the control mechanism." They settled into a hidden position with a clear view of the cliff. Hana fed June with baby formula they had found at the settlement, keeping him quiet and content. "Tell me more about these hunters," Hana whispered to Taiwan. "You seem to know a lot about them." Taiwan looked uncomfortable. "What I'm about to tell you is classified. My unit has been tracking similar incidents for years. We call them the Stalkers based on reports from survivors." "Survivors?" Jinho asked. "There have been others?" Taiwan nodded. "A few. Mostly from remote areas, Siberia, the Amazon, Central Africa, places where people might go missing without causing too much attention." "Why haven't we heard about this?" Hana demanded. "Would you believe it? Aliens hunting humans for sport?" Taiwan shook his head. "Most governments keep it quiet to prevent panic. We know very little about them, but we have learned they follow a strict code when they hunt." "What kind of code?" Jinho asked. "They only hunt those who can fight back, adults who are armed or can defend themselves. They avoid the young, the sick, and pregnant females." "Like human hunters," Jinho said. "Many won't shoot a doe with fawns." "Exactly. To them, there's no honor in killing those who can't fight back. It shows their interest is the sport, the challenge, not simply killing." Their conversation was interrupted by a beeping from Taiwan's device. "Something's coming," he whispered. They watched as 2 alien hunters appeared at the base of the cliff. Between them, they dragged an unconscious human figure. One of the aliens pressed something on its wrist. A section of the rock slid open, revealing a dark entrance. The aliens dragged their captive inside, and the door closed behind them. "Did you see that?" Jinho asked. "The control must be on their wrist devices." "If we could get one of those devices," Hana started. "We'd need to take down a hunter first," Taiwan finished. "Easier said than done." They waited, watching for any opportunity. After an hour, the device beeped again. This time, a single hunter emerged from the hidden door. It activated its camouflage and moved into the forest, likely starting another hunt. "Now's our chance," Taiwan said. "The door just closed, but I recorded the energy signature. I might be able to replicate it." He worked with his equipment while Jinho kept watch. Baby June began to fuss and Hana gently rocked him. "I think I've got it," Taiwan said finally. He pointed a small emitter at the rock face and activated it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soft humming sound, the rock door slid open. "It worked," Jinho whispered, amazed. "We need to move quickly," Taiwan said. "Stay close and stay quiet." Hana checked June's carrier. "What about the baby?" "We can't leave him alone out here," Jinho said. "He's safer with us than anywhere else right now." They entered the dark passage, which sloped downward into the mountain. The walls were smooth and had a faint greenish glow that provided just enough light to see. They moved slowly, listening for any sound of the aliens. The passage opened into a larger chamber filled with strange equipment. Metal tables with restraints stood in the center. Along the walls were shelves holding containers of various sizes. Some held what looked like body parts preserved in clear liquid. Trophies, Taewon said quietly, pointing to what was clearly a human skull cleaned of flesh and polished to a shine. Hana looked away, holding June closer. We need to find the captives. They moved through the chamber to another passage. This one led to a row of what looked like cells with energy barriers instead of bars. Inside, several of the cells were the missing hikers and settlers, including some from the attack that morning. Jinho spotted Mi-sun in one of the cells. She lay on a metal bench, her eyes closed, a wound on her forehead. Mi-sun, he called softly. Can you hear me? Her eyes fluttered open. She looked confused. Then her expression changed to fear. Jinho? How? Where am I? Where is June? June is safe, Jinho assured her, nodding toward Hana with the baby. We're going to get you out. Taewon examined the control panel near the cells. I think I can deactivate the barriers, but it might trigger an alarm. Do it, Jinho said. We'll deal with the consequences. Taewon worked quickly. The energy barriers flickered and disappeared. The captives began to move, some still groggy from whatever the aliens had done to them. Can you walk? Jinho asked Mi-sun as he helped her up. She nodded weakly. I think so. They did something to me. Took blood samples. Scanned me. They're studying us, Taewon said, learning our strengths and weaknesses. As they helped the captives out of the cells, a loud alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed along the walls. We need to move fast, Taewon urged. Back the way we came. They hurried through the chamber with the trophies. The freed captives, about a dozen in total, stumbled along with them. Mi-sun stayed close to Hana, reaching for her baby. Let me carry him, she said. Please. Hana helped transfer June to his mother. The baby, disturbed by the noise and movement, began to cry. They were halfway across the trophy room when the main door slid open. 3 alien hunters rushed in, weapons raised. The escaped captives screamed and scattered. This way, Jinho shouted, pointing to a side passage. Run! Most of the captives followed him, with Taewon helping those who were too weak to run. Hana stayed with Mi-sun, who clutched baby June tightly as they fled. The side passage led to another chamber, this one larger than the others. It was clearly the aliens' living quarters, with what looked like sleeping platforms and food preparation areas. But what caught Jinho's attention was the far wall, which was covered in skulls and other trophies, a massive display of past hunts from many different worlds. There must be hundreds, he said in horror. Jinho, Hana called urgently. The door. The door they had entered through began to close. Jinho rushed forward, trying to hold it open, but it was too strong. The door sealed shut, trapping them. Inside. Is there another way out? Mi-sun asked, trying to quiet June's crying. Taewon scanned the room. There, he said, pointing to another door on the opposite side. But it's locked. They heard sounds from beyond the sealed door. The aliens were coming. They had only minutes before they would be recaptured, or worse. Jinho searched frantically for a way to open the other door. He found a control panel similar to the one Taewon had used to free the captives. Can you open it? He asked. Taewon examined the panel. I think so, but it will take time. Time we don't have, Hana said, as a loud banging came from the sealed door. As Taewon worked on the panel, Jinho and Hana gathered the captives in the center of the room, as far from both doors as possible. Mi-sun continued trying to quiet June, but the baby was too frightened by the noise and tension. Suddenly the banging stopped. For a moment there was silence. Then the sealed door began to slide open. Everyone froze as the largest alien hunter they had seen yet stepped into the room. Its armor was more elaborate than the others, with trophies attached to it. This was clearly their leader. Behind it came 2 more hunters. The leader made a series of clicking sounds and pointed at the humans. The other hunters raised their weapons. Jinho stepped forward, placing himself between the aliens and the others. He raised his hands to show he was unarmed. Wait, he said, even though he knew they couldn't understand him. This isn't a fair hunt. These people can't defend themselves. The alien leader tilted its head as if curious. It stepped closer to Jinho, studying him. Then its attention shifted to something behind him. Jinho turned to see what had caught the alien's interest. It was Mi-sun, still trying to comfort the crying June. The alien leader made more clicking sounds. One of the other hunters moved toward Mi-sun. Before anyone could react, it snatched baby June from her arms. Mi-sun screamed, reaching for her child. The hunter held the crying baby up, examining it curiously. Then, to everyone's horror, the hunter placed the baby in its jaw-like mandibles, holding him there as one might hold a kitten by the scruff of its neck. The alien leader went suddenly still. It made a different sound, sharper, angrier. The other aliens froze. Something was wrong. The trophy room fell silent except for baby June's crying. The alien hunter still held the infant in its mandibles, apparently confused by the leader's angry reaction. The alien leader made a series of rapid clicking sounds that echoed in the chamber. It pointed at the hunter holding June, then at the ground. The message was clear even to the humans. Slowly, the hunter lowered the baby to the ground. Mi-sun rushed forward and snatched June back into her arms, backing away quickly. Tai-wan stepped closer to Jinho. "Their code," he whispered. "They don't harm the young. That hunter just broke their most sacred rule." The alien leader turned its attention to Jinho. It studied him for a long moment, then activated a device on its wrist. A holographic image appeared in the air between them, images of humans hunting deer, fishing, and raising farm animals. "It's trying to communicate," Hana said in amazement. The leader pointed at the humans in the images, then at Jinho and the others. Next, it pointed at itself and its fellow hunters. The message seemed clear. Both species were hunters. Jinho nodded slowly. "Yes, we hunt too." The alien leader changed the images. Now they showed humans caring for children, protecting them. Then it showed its own species doing the same with their young. Strange, insect-like creatures being tended by adult aliens. "It's showing us we have something in common," Jinho said. "We both protect our young." The leader pointed at the hunter who had held June, making an angry sound. Then it removed something from its belt, a ceremonial-looking knife. It approached the offending hunter. "I think it's going to punish that one for touching the baby," Tai-wan said. Jinho made a quick decision. He stepped forward, placing himself between the leader and the other hunter. He raised his hand in a stopping gesture. "No," he said firmly. "We don't need more violence." The alien leader tilted its head, seemingly confused. It pointed again at the hunter, then at June in Mi-sun's arms. Jinho shook his head. "The baby is unharmed. There's been enough killing." He turned to Mi-sun. "Bring June here, please." Mi-sun looked terrified but slowly approached with the baby. Jinho gently took June in his arms and faced the alien leader. "Your hunter was curious, not malicious," Jinho said. "Just like we're curious about you." He stepped closer to the alien leader and did something incredibly brave. He held baby June out toward the leader, not to take but to see. "This is one of our young," Jinho said. "We protect them, just as you protect yours." The alien leader stared at the baby for a long moment. Then very slowly it reached out one clawed finger and touched June's tiny hand. The baby, no longer crying, instinctively grabbed the alien's finger. A strange sound came from the alien leader, something like a purr. It gently pulled its finger away and stepped back. It turned to its hunters and made a series of commanding clicks and whistles. "What's happening?" Hana asked. "I think Jinho just created understanding," Tai-wan replied. "Using the one thing we have in common, protecting our children." The alien leader pressed another control on its wrist. The door they had been trying to open slid aside, revealing a passage leading upward. "It's letting us go," Jinho said, handing June back to Mi-sun. The leader made another gesture, pointing at the humans and then at the open door. The message was clear: "Leave now." Jinho nodded in thanks. He led the group of freed captives toward the exit, keeping himself between them and the aliens. As they filed past, the alien leader watched them with what seemed like newfound respect. They followed the passage upward until they emerged into the cool night air. through another hidden door in the mountainside, far from where they had entered. Looking back, Jin-Ho saw the alien leader standing in the doorway watching them. He raised his hand in a gesture of peace. After a moment, the alien raised its hand as well. Then the door slid closed, and the aliens were gone. Will they leave Earth now? Hana asked as they made their way back through the forest. I don't think so, Taewon said. But I believe they'll change how they hunt here. They now see us as worthy adversaries, not just prey. Is that supposed to be comforting? Mi-sun asked, holding June close. In a way, yes, Jin-Ho replied. They hunt for sport, for the challenge. There's no honor in hunting those who can't fight back. Now they know we can. By morning, they had reached the ranger station. Taewon made calls to his superiors, reporting what had happened. The freed captives received medical attention from Hana and other doctors who arrived from the nearby town. Mi-sun sat on the porch of the station feeding June. Jin-Ho brought her a cup of tea and sat beside her. What will you do now? He asked. The settlement isn't safe anymore. I don't know, she admitted. Many will rebuild elsewhere, deeper in the mountains. But with June, she looked down at her baby. You could stay in town, Jin-Ho suggested, at least until he's older. Mi-sun smiled sadly. Perhaps. What about you? Will you continue as a ranger now that you know what's out there? Before Jin-Ho could answer, Taewon joined them. His face was serious. My superiors want to speak with you both, he said. They're forming a special response team to monitor alien activity. They need people who have encountered them and survived. You want us to hunt the hunters? Jin-Ho asked. Not hunt. Understand? Prepare. Protect. Taewon looked at baby June. So children like him can grow up safely. 3 days later, a satellite in Earth orbit detected a small spacecraft leaving the atmosphere. Tracking systems followed it to the edge of the solar system before losing contact. But before it disappeared, the craft transmitted a signal. When decoded, it contained a simple message in alien symbols alongside basic human language. Withes, prey, protected world. Young ones sacred. Hunt with honor. 1 month later, Jin-Ho stood on the observation deck of a new facility built near where the alien base had been. Behind him, Hana worked with scientists studying alien technology left. Behind, Mi-sun had joined them too, working as a liaison with the settlers who had returned to the forest. Baby June sat in a carrier on Jin-Ho's back, looking at the stars with wide, curious eyes. They'll come back someday, Taewon said, joining Jin-Ho on the deck. Different hunters maybe, or the same ones, but they'll come. And we'll be ready, Jin-Ho replied. Not just to fight, but to understand. He reached back and touched June's small hand. The baby grabbed his finger tightly, the way he had grabbed the alien's claw. That's what saved us, you know, Jin-Ho said softly. Not weapons or technology. It was this. He nodded at the baby. Our capacity to protect the innocent. Our humanity. Taewon smiled. The irony is beautiful. The greatest hunters in the galaxy were defeated not by our strength, but by our compassion. Jin-Ho looked up at the night sky, wondering how many other species were out there hunting and being hunted. But Earth was different now. Earth was protected, all because a predator had carried a human baby in its jaw, and the hunt had ended with a cry that echoed across the stars. The end.